The road turned to dirt 12 miles from the nearest town, and the cell signal died somewhere around mile 14. Elena Marsh drove slower than she needed to, partly because the potholes were deep, and partly because she wasn't in any hurry to arrive. A lighthouse cottage wasn't a cure. She knew that. Her editor knew that. But it was something. And something was more than she'd had in 3 years. The cottage appeared between the pine trees like a secret. Small, cedar-sided with a stone chimney and a porch that faced the Atlantic. A hand-painted sign nailed to a post said, Whitaker Light, S-Tier 1894. The key was under a flower pot shaped like a lobster. She'd been told it would be there. Inside, the air smelled like cedar and something older. Salt, maybe, or the memory of wood smoke. There was a couch with a knit throw draped over the arm, a wood stove in the corner, a kitchenette with a kettle that looked older than she was. The bedroom had a queen bed with a down comforter and a window that looked straight out at the ocean. It was perfect. It was also, she realized, entirely too quiet. Elena was a children's book illustrator. She spent her days in a studio in Brooklyn, drawing pictures of rabbits and foxes and bears who wore tiny sweaters. She was used to noise, sirens, her neighbor's television, the hum of the city. Here, the loudest sound was her own breathing. She unpacked slowly. A sweater, her laptop, the drawing tablet she'd brought against her better judgment. She told herself she was here to rest. She set it on the kitchen table anyway. By 9 o'clock, she was in bed. The comforter was heavy and warm. The window was open a crack, and cold air came in carrying the smell of salt and pine. She closed her eyes. At 9:15, she opened them again. At 9:30, she rearranged the pillow. At 10, she got up and made tea. At 11, she lay back down and stared at the ceiling and thought about all the things she usually thought about when she couldn't sleep. Deadlines, her ex-boyfriend, the way her mother's voice sounded on the phone last Christmas, like she was worried Elena would never be okay. And then she saw it. A light. It swept across the bedroom wall, slow, steady, a pale gold beam that moved from left to right and then was gone. 10 seconds later, it came again. Left to right, gone. Left to right, gone. The lighthouse. She'd forgotten about the lighthouse. It stood at the end of the point, a white stone tower with a red roof, maybe a quarter mile from the cottage. The beam rotated every 10 seconds. It swept across the water, across the rocks, across her bedroom wall, like a metronome. Elena watched it. She didn't move. The light came and went, and somewhere in the back of her mind, a part of her that had been tight for 3 years loosened, just slightly, like a fist opening one finger at a time. She didn't fall asleep, but she stopped trying. She lay there and listened to the ocean, a low, constant roar, like the world breathing, and watched the light sweep the wall. And for the first time in months, she didn't hate the night. Somewhere outside, a door opened and closed. Footsteps on gravel, the low murmur of a man's voice, too far away to make out words. The lighthouse keeper, she thought. He was doing his rounds, checking the light, making sure the beam kept turning. She thought about him, whoever he was, up there in the tower, alone, keeping the light going for ships she couldn't see. And she thought, I'm not the only one awake tonight. The light swept the wall again. She closed her eyes. The ocean roared. The light came and went. Somewhere, a gull cried once and went silent. She didn't remember falling asleep. But when she woke, the sun was up. The kettle was whistling. She'd left it on the stove, she realized, and it had boiled dry. And there was a basket on the porch. A basket. Woven from reeds, sitting on the top step like it had grown there. Inside, a jar of clam chowder, still warm, wrapped in a towel. A loaf of bread, a small notebook with a note on the first page. Elena picked up the note. The handwriting was slow and deliberate, like the writer didn't do this often. Left the kettle on. Firewood's by the porch. Sam, she looked toward the lighthouse. The sun was glinting off the glass. She couldn't see anyone, but she knew he was up there. The man who'd kept the light turning all night, who'd noticed her kettle, who'd left soup for a stranger. Thank you, she said, to no one. To the ocean, to the light, she unscrewed the chowder. It smelled like bacon and cream and thyme. She ate a spoonful standing in the doorway, barefoot, the morning air cold on her feet, the Atlantic gray and vast and alive in front of her. Somewhere, a gull cried. The lighthouse beam was off now, but she could still feel its rhythm. Left to right, gone, left to right, like a heartbeat she'd learned in the dark. She was going to like it here. She could feel it. She met him on the third day. He was at the lighthouse base, oiling the gears of the lens mechanism, when she walked down the path with a jar of jam she'd made, blackberry, from the bushes behind the cottage. She'd wanted to say thank you for the chowder. He looked up when she approached. Tall, lean, with sun-weathered skin and a beard that needed trimming. His hands were calloused and stained with grease. He didn't smile exactly, but his eyes softened. "You must be Elena," he said. His voice was low and rough like sandpaper on old wood. "I'm Sam, I keep the light." "I know," she said. "You left soup and a note, and you turned off my kettle before it burned the house down." "Smelled the gas from the tower," he said. "Figured you'd forgotten." He took the jam. "Blackberry?" "From the bushes out back." "Good. Those are the sweetest ones this side of the point." He set the jam on a workbench. "You here long?" "A month, maybe longer. I'm a children's book illustrator. I need quiet." Sam nodded like he understood. "This is the quietest place I know, except for the ocean." "She talks a lot," Elena laughed. It came out easier than she expected. "I like the ocean. I just haven't been sleeping." "The light helps some people," Sam said. "The rhythm. 10 seconds on, 10 seconds off, like a metronome, or a heartbeat." He paused. "If it keeps you up, I can angle the lens away from your window." "No," Elena said quickly. "Don't. It helps, I think." Sam looked at her for a long moment. Then he nodded. "Okay, but if it doesn't, you tell me. That's an order." He said it like a joke, but she heard the care underneath. He came by the cottage that evening. The firewood by the porch was running low, and he brought an armful. He also brought a small radio, vintage, battery-powered, the kind that picked up the Coast Guard channel and a single jazz station out of Portland. "For when it's too quiet," he said, setting it on the kitchen counter. "And for when the storms come. You'll want to hear the warnings. Do storms come often? Fall's coming. They'll come." He stacked the wood by the stove. "You know how to build a fire?" "I'm from Brooklyn," Sam laughed, a short surprise sound. "Okay, come here." He showed her. The kindling, the paper, the log placement. He did it with his hands, no tools, and the fire caught in under a minute. "Like this," he said. "Slow and steady. Don't smother it." Elena watched his hands. They were big and gentle, moving through the wood like they'd done it 1,000 times. She thought about her ex-boyfriend, who'd never once built a fire, who'd called the super every time the heat went out. "Thank you," she said. Sam wiped his hands on his jeans. "That's what neighbors are for. Even the temporary kind." He paused at the door. "Sleep well tonight, Elena." She did. She lay in bed with the window open, the fire crackling in the stove, the jazz station playing low on the counter, and the lighthouse beam sweeping the wall every 10 seconds. The ocean roared. Somewhere, a foghorn moaned, low and slow. She didn't remember closing her eyes. She just did. And when she woke, the sun was high. The fire had burned down to embers, and she'd slept, actually slept, for 9 hours. 9 hours. She hadn't slept 9 hours in 3 years. She lay there for a long time, listening to the ocean, feeling the warmth of the embers through the wall. The lighthouse beam was off now, but she could still feel its rhythm in her bones. On the kitchen counter, the radio was still on, playing a slow trumpet solo. And on the porch, she knew, because she could smell it through the door, there was a fresh loaf of bread and another jar of soup, left by a man who kept the light and didn't say much but noticed everything. Elena smiled into her pillow. She was going to stay longer than a month. She could feel it. The storm came on a Tuesday in October. Elena woke to the sound of it. Rain hammering the tin roof, wind screaming through the pine trees, the ocean roaring like an angry thing. The power went out at 3 a.m. She lit a candle and sat on the couch, listening to the cottage creak, and tried not to think about the road washing out. There was a knock at the door at 4. She opened it. Sam was standing there in a yellow rain slicker, water running off his hood, holding a lantern. "Power's out up the coast," he said. "Came to make sure you were okay." "I'm fine," Elena said, but she moved aside to let him in. He stomped the rain off his boots and knelt by the stove. The fire had died. He rebuilt it in under a minute. Kindling, paper, log, blow on the embers just so, and the cottage filled with warmth and light. "Storms don't usually last this long," he said, sitting on the hearth rug. "Should pass by morning." They sat in silence for a while, watching the fire. The rain hammered the roof. The wind shook the windows. Somewhere, a branch cracked and fell. "Why do you live here?" Elena asked. "Alone, in a lighthouse." "In Maine." Sam was quiet for a minute. "My father was the keeper before me, his father before him. I grew up in that tower. Tried the city once, Boston for a year. Hated it, too many people, too much noise." He looked at the fire. "I like the quiet. I like knowing the light's on, that somewhere out there, a ship's captain sees it and knows where the rocks are." Elena thought about that. The light. Not for him, for someone he'd never meet. A stranger on a boat in the dark. "What about you?" he said. "Why can't you sleep?" She told him. Not all of it. Not the ex-boyfriend. Not the 3 years of staring at ceilings. Not the way she'd come to Maine because her editor had threatened to fire her if she didn't finish the book. But she told him enough. About the noise in her head. About the way her mind wouldn't stop. About lying in bed and replaying every conversation. Every mistake. Everything she'd ever said wrong. Sam listened. He didn't say, "You should meditate," or "Have you tried melatonin?" He just listened. When she finished, he said, "You know what I do when my head won't stop? I go up the tower. I watch the light turn. 10 seconds on, 10 seconds off. Over and over. And I think, that light's been turning since 1894. Through storms. Through wars. Through everything. And it'll keep turning after I'm gone. Whatever I'm worried about, it's smaller than that light." Elena looked at him. The firelight was on his face, and he looked younger than she'd thought. "Tired, maybe, but kind, thank you," she said. "For coming. For the light. For everything." Sam stood up. "Storm's letting up. I should get back. The lens needs checking." He paused at the door. "Elena? Yeah? You don't have to go back to Brooklyn. Not if you don't want to. The cottage is yours as long as you want it. Rent's cheap. The light's free." He left. The door closed. The rain slowed to a drizzle. Elena sat by the fire for a long time. She thought about Brooklyn, about the studio, the deadlines, the sirens, the 3 years of insomnia. She thought about the cottage, the ocean, the lighthouse beam, the man who kept it turning. She pulled out her drawing tablet. She started to draw, not the rabbits and foxes her editor wanted. Something else, a lighthouse, a girl in a window, a beam of light sweeping across the dark. She drew until the fire died and the sun came up. And when she finally slept, it was with the sound of the ocean in her ears and the memory of a man's voice saying, "The light's free." She never went back to Brooklyn, not permanently anyway. She finished the book, The Lighthouse Keeper's Light, and it became a bestseller. She rented the cottage year-round. She drew pictures of the ocean and the pines and the white tower with the red roof. She learned to build a fire. She learned to tell the difference between a storm that would pass and a storm that would stay. Sam taught her. Slowly, patiently, the way he did everything. They didn't rush. There was no grand declaration, no dramatic kiss in the rain. Just mornings with coffee on the porch, evenings with the fire, nights with the light sweeping the wall and the ocean breathing outside the window. On the 1-year anniversary of her arrival, Sam knocked on her door. He was holding a small wooden box. Inside was a lens, a tiny piece of the original lighthouse glass, polished smooth, set in silver. "For when you can't sleep," he said. Hold it up to the light. Remember, it's been turning since 1894, and it'll keep turning. Elena put the lens on her nightstand. That night, she lay in bed with the window open, the fire crackling, the beam sweeping the wall every 10 seconds. Sam was in the tower, she knew. Keeping the light, she closed her eyes. The ocean roared. The light came and went. Somewhere, a gull cried. And Elena Marsh, the girl who hadn't slept through the night in 3 years, fell asleep before the beam made its third pass. She slept until morning.